So this is the race. Can Lando win today? Lando Norris is on pole position. Sorry about this, I'm just gonna have to... $50p Fredo, sorry. Oh yeah. Yeah, the thing, okay, I was taking a... I mean, I was... Yeah, the whole 50p Fredo thing, I know it's from 2018. About how the old McLaren management gave out 50p Fredo. Everyone is now lining up onto the grid for the formation lap. I was trying to look for another stream, but I don't know if you can see. I mean, maybe I should turn the lights off because I got hearing horribly. I don't know if that's any better, but bloody hell, that's no better at all. Five lights, Lando, everyone's taking a start. Oh, who's in? Leclerc's taking a lead ahead of Verstappen. Sainz, Norris has had a dreadful start. Oh my God, he's lost 3 places, and we're not even in. We've only just gone past sector 1. Oh my God. Alonso is down to 10th. Albon and Ocon have had a disastrous start. But Leclerc has had an outrageously good start, all from 4th to P1 within the first sector. Oh my goodness me. And this is going to be the worst start that Norris could have ever made. A disastrous choker start. And, well, it has to be said, we all question Norris's mentality, and it's a huge question mark once again. I know it's not easy to look at the TV with the lights on like this, but Charles Leclerc is your race leader. Verstappen is second. Ferrari teammate Sainz is third. Norris is fourth, just ahead of his teammate Piastri. Gasly remains sixth. Magnussen up to 7th. What an amazing start he's had. Tsunoda up to 8th. Perez remains in 9th place. Alonso down to 3rd. Shocking. It's down to 10th, I beg your pardon. Terrible start. Of course, it's not over, but Ocon is going really slowly. Ocon crossed the line 16.5 seconds behind Leclerc on the first lap. I don't know what happened there. Did he go off the track? Of course, the fair lady has not sang. The fat lady has not sang yet, but Charles Leclerc is your race leader. But Max Verstappen has just set purple sector 1. Oh my God, Norris. Norris has really blown this, I have to say. This is going to be, once again, how many times have I said this? Far too many mistakes from Lando Norris. Extraordinary qualifying lap yesterday to get pole position, of course. But having said that, he did bottle a podium yesterday in the sprint race. Well, not podium, was it second place? Yeah, he gave away second to Sainz on the last lap. Pretty damn good week, that, for a change. Oh, yeah, Man United beat Brentford. Yeah, well. Anyway, we're watching the F1 race around COTA. We're on the second lap. Charles Leclerc is absolutely bossing it at the front. He's already out of DRS range within the first 2 laps. I mean, I've got to say it. Where has this pace, the pace has been for Ferrari all season? Like, I haven't seen Ferrari this quick since Monaco, to be honest. Unbelievable. Hamilton has parked up in sector 3. What's happened to Hamilton? Hamilton, I think, is out of the race. Hamilton's stuck. Hamilton, he looked up and... Yeah, I know. Hamilton is stuck in a gravel. I don't know what happened there. I can see the track map with Hamilton with, like, the track highlighted in yellow. I'm just gobsmacked. Hamilton is out of the race within the first 2 laps. I never expected that to happen. And it's a safety car, folks. Yeah, it's a full safety car, everyone. The safety cars come out. They can't get Hamilton's car out of the gravel quickly. So if all the cars are going to crawl down to about just 100 miles an hour, no racing is allowed. We're on lap 3 here in Austin, in Texas. Leclerc is the race leader, ahead of Verstappen, Sainz, and championship contender Lando Norris is struggling down in 4th place. And by the way, Carlos Sainz is the one who set the fastest lap on the second lap with, we'll see, just less than half, or just over a half attempt quicker than Max Verstappen. So Ferrari are actually looking pretty good early on. Thank you for the like. And that, yeah, I've got to say it, that's good news for Lando Norris, because of course this means that the front 3 cannot pull away from him. And of course, I think this gives Lando Norris and Piastri a chance to regroup their thoughts, get their act together, because that was a really poor start from, well, Lando especially. And of course, Piastri once again hamstrung by poor qualifying. Yep, I know Hamilton's out of the race. I think when I saw Hamilton's name stuck in sector 3, not moving for at least 30 seconds, I knew that was it. It's kind of obvious. Like, if you see a driver and their name and their number is just stuck in the same spot on the track map, that means they're out. Like, who won this race 4 times in a row at some point? Is it Hamilton? Bloody hell, Hamilton's won the race at COTA 4 years in a row. My God. Okay, so they made that... Wait, did he win it 2014, 15, 16, 17? Oh my goodness, what a record that is. Hamilton who? Yeah, indeed. Who the heck is Lewis Hamilton? Having said that, though, Alex Albon is down in 19th place and last on the road. Alex Albon is getting absolutely destroyed by Colapinto, if we're going to be brutally honest. 14-17, my God. That Mercedes was definitely... I bet you when Mercedes had an illegal car at certain points during their domination, but of course, Total Wolff probably managed to successfully bribe someone in the FIA not to disqualify them. I mean, let's face it, in 2019, of course, Vettel lost that race win at Canada, and then, of course, at the end of the season, Ferrari were forced to close off the loophole for their increased fuel flow sensor. So I think in terms of politics, Mercedes ended up winning out over Ferrari, if we're going to be truly honest. But of course, as we all know, after 2020, Mercedes were forced to remove the DAS thing, dual axis steering system, from their car. So, and then of course we've now got Red Bull, who are now finally seeing the wrong side of the FIA. So I guess at some point the FIA is pretty much determined to make sure that they cannot be accused of favoritism and bias towards certain teams. But no MasterCard logo on the McLaren car yet. Zhou Guan Yu had said, put your crane in Hamilton's car. My God, I think Zhou is getting a bit annoyed already. Up into 14th place, by the way, Zhou Guan Yu. Probably is going to be out of a 4-time seat at the end of the season, but he has been beating Bottas recently, so his career might be over towards the end of this year, but he's not going out without a fight, I can say, at least for Zhou Guan Yu. I've criticised him many times over the past 2.5 years, but he has actually been pretty decent recently, so I can't really just randomly start picking on him for no reason. I don't have to say, Esteban Ocon has had the worst start to the race imaginable, along with Albon. Of course, George Russell started last due to spinning off in a gravel. I think around the same corner, Hamilton went off, so I don't know what's happened to Mercedes, but Mercedes just seem to have completely lost their way in the last 5 or 6 races, to be honest. You know, they look good at Spa and Silverstone, but yeah. Safety car in this lap, folks. Safety car in. They've cleared Hamilton, stuck Mercedes. We will be back racing in about half a lap's time. Wind speed is roughly around 10 kilometers per hour, so there's a bit of gust on the track, folks. It's not going to be easy keeping the car on the road. Safety... Good grief. Oh, yeah. China finally won a game of football. There's always the first time for everything. Yeah, but let's not forget about the fact that the Chinese national team has not really improved at all in the past 2 decades. So I think I'm pretty right in what I'm saying. And all I'm saying is that, well, I've not seen enough from Zhou Guan Yu to be truly impressed by him. So I stand very firm on my criticisms, to be honest. You know, just because you had a couple of good races or football matches here and there doesn't really mean that I am necessarily wrong, to say the least. I have to say, though, I mean, Indonesia completely got their tactics wrong in that last qualifying match, so yeah. Back on the way again here at COTA. Leclerc leading the race. I don't think Zhou is as bad as some of the paid drivers we've seen, like Latifi, Mazepin, and of course, I don't know, maybe someone like Sorokin and a couple of others, but I can't say I'm exactly amazed at Zhou overall. Like Haryanto, I know was another one who was shockingly poor, but we've all forgot about him because it's now been like 8 years ago. And he did win driver of the race about, what was it, in a 2016 Australian Grand Prix, because of course all the Indonesian fans went mental overseeing one of their own competing F1 for the first time, but of course he only lasted 12 races. The Latifi and Palmer and it. 1 minute 38.95 for Leclerc. What a steamingly fast lap that was by the race leader. Scott Speed, I don't know. I think Scott Speed had his moments of quality against Antonio Liuzzi at Toro Rosso, but I think his attitude totally let him down, to be honest, because I think I remember watching an old clip of Scott Speed saying, "Last night, I had a boulder this big." And then, of course, he fell out with Dietrich Mateschitz or someone like that after the race at the Nürburgring, and Red Bull decided he'd had enough of the American prima donna. I don't know, where would Slogan Soldier be ranked? Would he be an F-tier driver? I'm sorry about the lighting. I just cannot get it right for some reason. I mean, I turned the lights off and it just turned into a white screen, to be honest. So we are 7 laps in. I know Verstappen's just said purple sector 1, but I've got to say it. Norris is beginning to fall away from the top 3, which is a bit worrying. I don't know what it is, but McLaren just don't seem to know how to really set their car up, and they don't really seem to have the drivers who can really drag an amazing performance out of the car when it matters most. And I think McLaren, having spent the past decade in the midfield, has kind of made them a bit rusty in terms of being, pushing the limit week in, week out, I'm afraid, which it does seem as if McLaren have forgot how to really win, if you know what I mean. I think, say, Rigora, you said this a couple of races ago, that McLaren seemed to have forgot how to really compete in the front on a regular basis, and I think you're absolutely correct, to be honest, because they better come up with a really clever strategy today, because I don't think Norris is going to be overtaking anyone on the road, unless, of course, he can really catch up. Where is Perez? Oh, yeah, he's 9th, by the way. Sorry. I'm really sorry for the quality of the screen. I think I usually, use, someone else's race time, but apparently I can't find, what was his name? Kerif's timing screens, because I think apparently he's not streaming tonight, so I don't know, folks. I think now, having thought about it, I think I should have used my own stream where I write out the names myself, like. But if I was to do it for myself, I would only be writing out the top 5 drivers, I'm afraid, because I think right now I'm only really interested in what the hell the likes of Gasly. Not Gasly, I know Gasly's sick, but I'm only interested in what the top 5 are doing, which is obviously Verstappen, the 2 Ferraris, and the 2 McLarens. And the other problem is, of course, lap 9, folks. Yeah, I mean, obviously McLaren are extending their constructors' lead, but we all know McLaren are winning the constructors' title, mate. Perez is not Perez. I honestly don't even know what the hell Perez is doing at Red Bull anymore. Other than the literal obvious fact that he brings a lot of sponsorship money, but I mean, for a team like Red Bull, I don't even know why sponsorship money even matters that much. Leclerc is still leading, folks, and he set another fastest lap of 1 minute 38.95. Did I just read that out? I mean, his fastest lap is 7 tenths faster than his own teammate. He is flying. My goodness me, honest to God, I don't understand why Ferrari cannot produce this sort of pace on a regular basis. I don't think they believe Perez has got skill. I think they're just happy about the fact that Perez supplies Red Bull a lot of money, and of course he doesn't even threaten Perez, Verstappen, I beg your pardon. Sainz is smelling fumes inside his car. What on earth is going on there? What is wrong with Ferrari again? Leclerc still leads. I mean, Verstappen second, Sainz third. My God, I cannot wait for the pit stops to come because I don't think there's much action going on in terms of overtaking today. Alonso down in 11th place, folks. Hulkenberg is now in the points in 10th place behind his teammate Magnussen, who's 7th. Tsunoda 8th. Perez 9th. And of course, Gasly's up in the heady heights of 6th place in that Alpine. Like, Alpine announced that they were going to get rid of their engine program, and Gasly is driving a blinder. Zhou has spun. Well, thank you for telling me Zhou has spun, but well, it doesn't really make that much difference to Sauber because they're not going to score points anyway. But that has elevated Lawson to 12th, Colapinto to 13th, Bottas to 14th, and Russell to 15th. I mean, obviously, well, I mean, that's not going to impress anyone with that spin there by Zhou, I'm afraid. Not a good, I mean, how many times have I said it now? Like, the moment Zhou looks good, he then goes and does something stupid. So, story of his F1 career, I'm afraid. Almost, but not quite. Albon is 18th. Well, I don't know. I think he went to the pits, didn't he? Yeah. Because his medium's already 7 laps old. I probably should have filmed this stream on Streamcast, to be honest, because I mean, you literally cannot see the names. I'm going to try and use another angle. That's not working either. Gasly wanting to be a factory driver didn't last long. Oh, well, I don't even know, mate. At least he's in 6th place. I mean, I will say this, like, if saving money on the engine program allows Alpine to spend more of that engine money on their car and they have a better car because of it, because let's face it, I think getting a Mercedes engine is going to be an upgrade on a Renault engine. I'm all for it, you know, and I think Gasly is as well. And of course, of course, Ocon will be leaving the team. So, I mean, in a sense, it's a double win for Gasly. He gets a decent engine behind him, and he gets rid of his childhood enemy in the process. And of course, he'll be getting Jack Dowen, a rookie driver, as a teammate next year. So he gets to be the #1 driver again, like he was at AlphaTauri. Norris is 2.5 seconds behind Sainz. This is, oh my lord, this race is getting away from Norris. Like, just something, it's just not happening for either McLaren drivers today. And I think as it stands, I'm trying to think, of course, heading into this weekend, I think Max was 52 points ahead. After the sprint, he was 54 points ahead. And as it stands, I think it's 18 points for 2nd place, 12 points for 4th place. So that's going to extend out to 60 points in total for Max's championship lead. So how many races do we have? Is it 5 races remaining after this weekend? Yeah. With about, I don't know, 130 points available. Yeah, I mean, I'm not even going to bother making excuses for Lando Norris. Like, I can only really put this down to the fact that Lando Norris has got no idea of how to cope with the pressures that performing in the front, and the fact that the first 4 races, McLaren did not have any expectations of being in a championship fight, because of course they didn't even score a podium in the first 4 races this season. And I think their upgrades from Miami onwards caught them out by surprise, because honestly, I think that McLaren are performing way ahead of their own expectations, because I think a lot of them thought that they'd be fighting for the championship again next year, not this year. Like, I think they all had plans of being championship contenders in 2025, which just feels like, McLaren just never really expected to be this good, and certainly not Lando Norris. It's just, if they're actually ahead of schedule, if you actually understand what I'm saying. But having said that, I mean, another top driver like Alonso, Hamilton, Verstappen, maybe even Leclerc would probably be doing a bit better than Lando Norris, if I'm going to be frankly honest with you. It's not a terrible season by any stretch of the imagination, but it is a case of could do better for Lando and McLaren, and yeah, they definitely bloomed too early. And I think, the sort of mentality of the team of McLaren, like celebrating podiums, even during this season, it's sort of like, I think they never really thought they'd be this good, to be honest. Hamilton, well, I think you're going a bit too far there, saying Hamilton is finished as a top driver. I know he's had a poor second half to the season, but I think you've got to realise he is leaving Mercedes at the end of the year, and I really do not think Hamilton really cares about what he does at Mercedes anymore. It's just a case of, well, my services are no longer required here at the end of this year, so why am I going to be driving my heart out anymore? Really poor error by Hamilton, by the way, and I think that kind of backs up my claim of Hamilton not really giving a toss about what he does at Mercedes anymore. I mean, we don't know how Leclerc and Hamilton will square up next season. That's all I'm saying. Like, I think it's going to be a close teammate battle between Leclerc and Hamilton. I understand there'll be a lot of Vettel and Alonso fans hoping Leclerc completely destroys Hamilton, because obviously I know quite a few of them are obviously bitter about Hamilton's career success for various reasons that I won't go into, due to obviously being a big rival Lewis Hamilton over the decade or so. Dohan has a poor attitude. Well, we'll see about that. Leclerc is 6 seconds in front, folks. After 15 laps, he's 6 seconds in front. Can you just imagine what if Ferrari were capable of being really consistent? Like, I don't understand Ferrari. Like, I've seen this so many times over the last 15 years where there'll be nowhere one weekend, and then the next weekend, they're absolutely giving everyone absolute pain the next. So, I mean, I don't think it was that long ago where Ferrari was struggling, and now they're back on top again. And as for Verstappen, well, the guy is a genius. That's all I'm going to say, really. Like, in a weekend where obviously Red Bull had that bib device removed, or is it being disabled? I don't know, but somehow and some way, Verstappen keeps finding a way of getting back in front of his championship rivals, which is just remarkable. And I think it absolutely speaks of how massive this guy's talent is. Although, of course, his opposition is somewhat very inconsistent, to say the least, whether it's Ferrari, McLaren, Mercedes, and even Aston Martin, if you want to go that far. Although, of course, Alonso has now dropped to 12th place. Like, oh my goodness me, Alonso really is struggling this weekend. Aston Martin are absolutely... Dear God, what are Aston Martin doing? Seriously now. the stove Aston Martin hasn't even been ignited yet. It is stone cold there. Lawson is up to 11th, making 8 places up the grid. Pretty good comeback race for the New Zealander. Gasly, Magnussen, Tsunoda, Perez, and Hulkenberg remain in the back end of the top 10. Yeah, I'm not going to lie. Albon has found his level in the lower end of the midfield. I'm not going to lie. He's an okay driver, but I think he's found his level at Williams. I don't think there's anything like that particularly surprising about how Albon is doing. I'm not like... I think the thing with Albon is that if he ever had wanted to have a chance of having a shot at driving for Mercedes or Ferrari, he would have had to drive like the way he did in the second half of 2023 for basically almost every race of this season. But obviously, that would really require Albon to actually drive way above his level in order to replicate every race in the second half of 2023 again, and to avoid making daft errors like breaching track limits and a couple of racecraft errors that we've seen Albon do quite a fair bit, even when he drives well. So, as for Hamilton, I think the jury is out on whether Hamilton is past his best or not. Leclerc has now stretched his lead out to almost 7 seconds after 17 laps. My God, where Ferrari found all this pace from? It's like they've gone to Willy Wonka's chocolate factory and the chocolate has been put inside a fuel system, and Leclerc is absolutely driving the wheels off the Ferrari today in COTA. Unbelievable. I think Aston Martin have given up on 2024. I think not only has Fernando Alonso checked out this season, I think Aston Martin have given up. But now that obviously Adrian Newey is joining the team for next year, so frankly, what's the point of wasting money on this year's car when Adrian Newey is about to turn up next year and give you a far better car than what you've got this year? So I'm not going to go too hard on Alonso because I think they've got 5th place in the constructors wrapped up. They're not fighting for anything. But I have to say, Lando Norris is now nearly 13 seconds behind Leclerc, and my goodness me, my God, Norris has completely disappeared into thin air today. Norris has disappeared the moment he is needed most. It's kind of a bit like, I don't know, trying to think of an analogy here. It's a bit like Arsenal and Tottenham. Whenever they get sucked into a Premier League title race, they always bottle it when it matters most. And I think the same analogy can be applied to car number 4 at McLaren. I'm afraid this is a real letdown, I'm afraid. Alonso is down to 13th. Look, I know the Aston Martin is not very good, but you can tell Alonso has just given up today. I don't blame him for giving up because 5th place in the constructors is well and truly wrapped up with about 6 races remaining. It's not like, I know RB and Haas are miles off the constructors race, but really no. Oh, Alonso's back up to 12th. Of course, Magnussen has pitted, so yeah, I think points is definitely not there today for the Silverstone base team. The boys in green, which, of course, I think if anyone wants to remember, of course, Jordan, who obviously was owned by Eddie Jordan, which obviously got then bought out by Midland, Spiker, and Force India Racing Point before being turned into Aston Martin, were their first ever car livery was painted in green, just like the current Aston Martin. So I suppose it was always destiny that an Irish team would eventually be bought out by one of the biggest British car manufacturers in the world, mostly thanks to, of course, Papa Stroll's Canadian dollars. funny how that works, eh? Not that I really can criticise Alonso today because, well, I think Aston Martin are not fighting for anything at this point. 8 seconds is Leclerc's lead now over Verstappen. My goodness me, Leclerc is in a league of his own today. Unbelievable. Yeah, mate, we all know Barcelona are going to probably go and walk away with La Liga this season. Like, I will do a stream for Barcelona later on Friday or Saturday or whatever when they do play a football match there. Yeah, mate, but dude, I mean, look, dude, I mean, we've seen Alonso produce a lot of good performances in midfield over the past decade, but frankly, I think we all know in F1, like, the car will always be a limiting factor in how well we can do. And I've already been through all of Alonso's problems at teams he's driven for, teammates he's fallen out with, and all that. Like, I don't really want to go through it again because obviously, yes, obviously he's had a bit of bad luck here and there, but the thing is, though, he sometimes has been somewhat of his own enemy at times, so I'm not saying they're denying the fact that Alonso can be quite good in qualifying in certain moments, but you need the whole package to work in order to succeed in this level of motorsport. I mean, if you want to go and watch a sport where, like, you know, the player or the athlete makes most of the difference through what they do, then, I mean, frankly, you'd be better off watching a sport like darts, snooker, maybe tennis, I don't know, golf, where, like, honest to God, the athlete, the player, or the individual is the one who makes the difference. Could have been 10th if it was not for Russell crashing, yeah, but like I said, obviously, you do need a bit of luck to do well in F1 at times, like, that's just how the cookie crumbles, I'm afraid. But I think I did say that Alonso has got very little to fight for, if I'm going to be honest, in terms of the constructors. Like, they're too far away from Mercedes to catch up with them for P4, and they're too far ahead of RB and Haas to be caught for P5. So, I mean, motivation is not exactly a strong point up for Alonso nor Aston Martin this season, since, of course, let me say this again, Mr. Adrian Newey will be walking into the Aston Martin headquarters at the start of next season, just like Thomas Tuchel will be becoming England manager next year, apparently, which is weird to think about, but... And that's not because he's German, it's more because of the fact he's going to be starting the job a bit later than he signed the contract, which is really odd. Ferrari might catch Red Bull in the constructors, yeah, well, I mean, that's a totally different battle in itself. I mean, obviously, with first and third for Ferrari, I think currently they're sitting on a net total of about, I think, 41 points, since, of course, Leclerc's got a point for fastest lap. As it stands, with, of course, a few cars having done their pit stops, I think 26 points is available for Red Bull if they were to get a safety car now. But, I mean, I think once Perez does his pit stop, I think obviously it's only going to be about 20 points or so for the Red Bull squad from this weekend. So, Red Bull are going to be are going to concede at least 15 points this weekend. So, yeah, the fight between Ferrari and Red Bull in the constructors is on, folks. I mean, I will say one more thing about Fernando Alonso is that I have always seen Fernando Alonso as basically being like a better version of Jenson Button, in that, in terms of consistency, he is absolutely unbeaten, but in terms of raw pace, I do think he has somewhat been a bit lagging behind at his peak in comparison to his peers at their own relative peaks, like maybe Kimi Räikkönen in the mid 2000s, Vettel and Hamilton after that. So, but my God, it's now 13.5 seconds, the gap between Leclerc and Norris. Sainz has gone to the pits, but Norris is still losing time. Norris is just struggling so much today, man. This guy is just, dude, he's going to be 60 points behind Verstappen at this rate. It's just not happening. And with 5 races to go, Lando Norris needs a max DNF soon. Badly. He needs a max DNF because for whatever reason, Lando Norris and McLaren cannot get their car up into the podium places in terms of the net race position. So, yeah, not good enough. Not good enough. Oh, yeah, Vettel scored his first ever point in F1 in Australia, in America, I beg your pardon, on his Grand Prix debut for Sauber. And, of course, Kimi Räikkönen did the same 6 years beforehand for the same team in Australia. I mean, obviously, I know Hamilton finished, what was it, 3rd in Australia in his Grand Prix debut in Melbourne. And then, of course, well, I know Fernando Alonso missed out on the points for Minardi on his F1 debut, but of course, well, I mean, he was driving for Minardi, so it's not exactly like scoring points is an easy job for that team back then. But of course, I think the way Alonso performed in comparison to his older and more experienced teammate, Tarso Marquez, destroying him on average by a second and a half in quality speed, yeah. There was no doubt at the time that Alonso was a talent of the future at the age of just 19 years old. Like, what a driver. Like, having come off, what was it? A championship win in the Spanish Formula Nissan Series, and of course, a 4th place finish in the International Formula 3000 Series a year back in 2000. And I think what sealed his seat in F1 was, of course, winning the Formula 3000 Spa-Francorchamps race, where he won the race by half a second over a 22-lap race. Not half a minute, I beg your pardon. And Sauber are 18th and 19th again, folks. Back to being useless for the we have no chip steak team. Steak, chips, well, we've got no steak and we've got no chips at Sauber, so what the hell are we doing here? And of course, as you know, Audi are coming in a couple of years' time, so maybe their prayers will be called. Maybe, but Matteo Binotto better sort out some big problems down at Hinwil. Otherwise, he's going to be a laughingstock. What on earth has happened to Tsunoda? Like, after his pit stop, he's gone down to 17th and Gasly's gone down to 16th. Oh dear, I don't know. Oh dear, looks like Gasly and Tsunoda's pit stops worked out terribly. I know there's plenty of other cars yet to pit, but of course, Carlos Sainz, new fastest lap of 1:38.7. 2 laps on the new hard tyres. Looking very good, Ferrari. My goodness me, they've been great. Yeah, but Kimi Räikkönen was just a natural born talent, never did any PR training. Used to smoke 2 packs of cigarettes every day between the age of 18 and 20. Never really was prepared to be like fully optimized as a racing driver in his youth, but yet somehow, he dominated the junior series in British Formula Renault. He scored a point in his F1 debut for Sauber. He was it scored 9 points to Nick Heidfeld's 12 points in his first year, and then got promoted straight to McLaren afterwards. My God, what a career trajectory that was. Sauber is the new Williams, and Williams is still the Sauber of a couple of years ago. Yeah, I think that's an interesting analogy there. I mean, obviously, a couple of years ago, yeah, Sauber was still consistently scoring points every now and again with, what was it, Kimi and Giovinazzi, and then, of course, with their new lineup of Bottas and Zhou, but now they've basically have become what Williams were like during 2018 until about the first half of 2021, a team that belongs to nowhere. Frankly, getting destroyed like Sheffield United were getting destroyed last year in the Premier League. I'm trying to think. Norris he's still 3 seconds behind Verstappen, but he is now about. Interesting thing, Lando has not lost any time in the last 2 or 3 laps in comparison to Leclerc, which is pretty good, but I don't know. I mean, he really needs to start closing down on Verstappen if he really wants to make any sort of progress. Because let's be honest, this is not ideal for McLaren, and certainly not for Norris in this championship pursuit. And I think even if he doesn't win the race, I think it would be great for Lando to actually try and beat Verstappen at the end of today's race. But Verstappen's gone to the pits. Max pits, folks. Yeah, 45 years young, Kimi Räikkönen. At least he gets to see his wife and kids, unlike so many famous racing drivers and rock stars of the past. And despite the fact that obviously Kimi Räikkönen used to be a massive party animal in his youth. So, yeah, I saw it. Max Verstappen has come out of the pits and he's down in 5th place, just ahead of his teammate Perez, who is yet to pit. My God, I will say though, I mean, Perez's fastest lap is almost 4 tenths slower than Max's fastest lap, that's pretty worrying, I have to say, for Checo, because obviously there's been rumours over his future at Red Bull, although of course with Ricciardo completely out of the sport now, I don't know how much more time he will probably have as a Red Bull driver, and I think it does depend on how well Lawson does in comparison to Tsunoda, because I mean, if Lawson, who is currently in 9th place, like really, really hammers Tsunoda the next few races, I think Herbert Marko might be tempted to pull the trigger on Perez's seat at Red Bull. Yeah, well, those were the days. I mean, apparently, Kimi Räikkönen once gave Mark Elvis Presley a reverse mohawk in a postseason party at McLaren. So Kimi didn't screw around. That's all I'm saying. Tomorrow is 21st of October. Yes, the day when Kimi not only won at COTA for the very last time in his career in 2018, but also at Interlagos in Brazil, he won the World Championship in 2007. 21st of October, what a day that is for the Kimi Räikkönen fan base. Like, I apologise for the poor screen quality today. I mean, next week, I think I'm going to have to switch to more of my own screencast, to be honest, because this is not good enough. Alonso pits down to 7. Oh, that behind Bottas. Oh, there. Yeah, Aston Martin are having an absolutely god-awful day today. Oh, yeah, because, what was it? Mark shoved a load of blue stuff in Pimmy's gloves. May the 19th. What happened on May the 19th for Chelsea? I don't know what would have happened, but Yeah, I think it's pretty safe to say Lando Norris's chance of winning today's race has absolutely gone out the window, but he is now leading on track. But of course, no pit stops have been made yet for either McLaren driver, and Lando Norris has passed the pit lane, so he is going to stay out for another lap, I think. Now we've had 28 laps in the race. We're at half distance, and I think it is going to be very interesting to see what McLaren do with their two drivers, because they've not been very quick in the first half of the race. I mean, they've kind of got to make their decision. Like, are they going to try and gamble for a safety car? Are they going to try and stretch out their stint as long as possible? Because it's just not been a great day today for McLaren. And, I mean, Lando's fastest lap is, what was it, 7... I mean, about 0.3 of a second slower than Carlos Sainz. That's not great. That really is not great. Lightning McQueen. Lightning McQueen time for Lando Norris. Oh, yeah, their first UCL, yeah. Fair enough. Oh, my days. What's happened? Stroll's down in 19th. Sauber up. Aston Martin are now fighting Sauber. Oh, my word. Adrian Newey couldn't arrive quickly enough on his moped. Oh, but Leclerc is closing down on Piastri. Piastri's going to have to do a bit of defending here because, of course, Leclerc's just done the fastest lap of an 8:38.66. Ferrari are not hanging about today. I've got to say it. Maranello look like they mean business today. Perez overtakes Magnussen for P9. Tsunoda flies past Albon for P14. I think if you can see the orange bit on top, yeah, you can sort of make out that Norris and Piastri are in P1 and P2. Leclerc and Sainz P4, P3 and P4. Verstappen, championship leader, P5, ahead of a resurgent George Russell in P6. Obviously, Russell has not pitted, but Russell is 9 seconds ahead of Liam Lawson, who has made his return to F1 ahead of Colapinto. The two rookies are absolutely destroying the racetrack right now. And yeah, Leclerc is only 6 seconds behind Lando Norris. So I've got to say this. McLaren need a safety car. Norris needs a safety car. I mean, obviously, I think Norris would need Piastri to benefit from the safety car as well, because, of course, if Norris wants any chance of winning this championship, he needs Piastri to take points off Verstappen quite urgently as well. So, because I don't think Lando Norris can win this championship all by himself anymore, and I think he might well also need a DNF to come Verstappen's way in the last 5 races. I don't know what's worse, seeing Tifosi celebrate or Team LH having another hissy fit. Well, don't you worry. I mean, we're going to be seeing both of those things happen next year when Hamilton goes to Maranello. I mean, I think the Ferrari social admin might well be quite angry at his team for signing Lewis Hamilton up next year, because his social media mentions are going to be absolutely on fire. Like, it's going to be like listening to a bunch of people who have, bipolar disorder on a weekly basis for the Ferrari social admin, it is going to be hell and thunder next year at Maranello's social media office. Mind you, I mean, Max Verstappen is quite irritating when he starts sulking as well, so it's not like Hamilton's the only one who likes to have a cry once in a while. Having said that, my God, Aston Martin, 17th and 18th, what has happened to them? I know I was talking about Aston Martin having nothing to fight for, but they've just given up completely today. I mean, they didn't score any points yesterday in the sprint race, but yeah. They are waiting for the bold genius to arrive at their headquarters next year. That's all I can say. Yeah, I know Barcelona are winning, mate. Like, you don't need to tell me again and again, like. And it's now less than 5 seconds between Lando Norris and Charles Leclerc. Oh, Charles Leclerc's overtaken Piastri. Oh, my goodness me. Oh, dearie me. Piastri is not doing a good job as wingman, is he? He's now down to third place with Charles Leclerc, who was leading the race before the pit stop, up to second place. Less than 4 seconds separates him and race leader Lando Norris. Yeah, McLaren need a safety car now. But Norris is pitting. Norris in the pits. Yeah, Jesus Christ. Lando Norris is now going to be hoping and praying for a miracle now because... And, oh no, it looked good. Lando Norris, nope. Lando Norris has been overtaken by Max Verstappen. Lando Norris has just got to have to push as hard as he can now because he's got to overtake Max Verstappen. Lando needs to overtake Max Verstappen if he wants to have any chance of winning, of even being in a sniff of the World Championship now. And I have to say, from a neutral point of view, I would like to see Lando Norris remain in a championship fight just for the pure entertainment factor, because, of course, we have a 24 race calendar now. So, obviously, I would much rather go back to having 17 or 18 races a year because, of course, it would allow the so-called drivers from the smaller teams to be able to compete in a championship fight if they get the opportunity like this. And having said that, of course, if we had a 17 race calendar, I mean, Max, the whole season would be over already. So, yeah. But what I'm trying to say is that I think teams would have more time to actually test their cars rather than going out on a track racing almost every other weekend. Unfortunately, I mean, Red Bull have got a bulletproof car. Like, I mean, the last time Max Verstappen had a mechanical failure was all the way back in Australia when, of course, Carlos Sainz won the race. I know Red Bull have had their problems on and off track. You know, Christian Horner, Marco, Adrian Newey leaving the team. And, of course, Max Verstappen sounding off in the background and the car being hamstrung by the budget cap and the asymmetric braking system banned. And, of course, the bib around the front nose cone coming under investigation this weekend. But Max Verstappen is just absolutely amazing as a racing driver. Like, I think we are about to see Max Verstappen become the first ever Dutch driver to become a 4-time champion. Like, this guy is just too good. Like, I don't even know how he does it. Like, he's 6.5 seconds in front of Lando Norris. This is a generational talent we're watching. Like, yeah, I know he's going to get beaten by both Ferraris this weekend, but most crucially, he's going to extend his championship advantage over Lando. by at least, I think, up to 55 points, 58 points. I don't know how many points, but dude, this guy is just... He has read Lando Norris like an encyclopedia this weekend, and he has completely thrown Lando Norris into the chip fryer and covered Lando Norris in the finest British batter you can find. Well, I mean, at least you get to look forward to McLaren celebrating lifting the Constructors' Trophy at the end of season FIA Awards. I mean, Zach Brown and Randy Singh will be talking about how good the team has been, talking about how great their team spirit is, and what great car they have produced. But of course, Lando Norris will be sitting there looking very sheepish, knowing that he couldn't really keep himself in the driver's title fight. So it's going to be quite an awkward end of year award ceremony for the boys in orange. Because, you know, Zach Brown, Randy Singh, the McLaren, the Papayard boys are going to be delighted, smiling like the Cheshire Cat. But Lando Norris is going to have to really fake that smile when he attends the FIA Gala at the end in December. And by the way, I think the last race of the year is going to be on the 10th of December, so there's not going to be that much time for the FIA Gala, I'm afraid, because once that's done, I mean, we're going to be on to Christmas shortly afterwards, so... Norris fastest lap... Well, it says it's Leclerc fastest lap of my watch. I don't know whether I'm 10 seconds behind, but I'm going to see when Norris crosses the finish line. I presume you're right. And yes, you are correct, John. Yes, Norris did take the fastest lap, so I think I'm about 20 seconds behind on your feed. Franco Colapinto, wow. I mean, 8th place, 33 laps on the hard tyres. I mean, Russell, Lawson and Colapinto have been outstanding today. Albon has pitted again. Jeez. This has been, the last 4 races have been an absolute disaster for Albon since, of course, Colapinto has turned up at Williams. I think this has practically buried any hopes of Albon being able to move to a better team, to be honest. And yeah. And to really rub salt in the wound, of course, he's got the 2 Astons, 2 Saubers, and of course Ocon in front of him. So, oh dear, I have to say Tsunoda is also going to be quite grumpy when he gets out of the car, but he realises what good race Lawson has had. Norris should be behind Verstappen in 7 laps time, yeah, but he's 4.5 seconds behind the championship leader, so he better get on with it quickly. Because as it stands, the gap between Leclerc and Norris has now grown to 16 seconds. I think, honestly, realistically, getting 3rd place off Verstappen would be a good effort by Norris, but I think if Norris really wants to claw into Max's advantage, he's got to try and get Sainz as well, to be honest. He's got 21 laps to do that, by the way. Because let's face it, I think Leclerc deserves to win today, barring any daft errors on his part. I'm not going to lie, though, I would rather see Charles Leclerc fight Max Verstappen for the World Championship because, of course, both drivers are of the same age. They have more or less the same sort of experience at this level of motorsport, so, you know, but McLaren have actually produced a better car this year, which is really weird to say, but that's how the cookie crumbles. Norris has... Yeah, 1 minute 37.9 for Norris. Yeah, I mean, this is a problem with Norris. It does seem to be the lack of mentality and the lack of experience at running at the sharp end of the grid has definitely been proven to be an issue for the 24-year-old Briton. I think, obviously, let me reiterate what I just said. I would prefer to see Leclerc fight Max Verstappen for the championship, just due to the fact that Leclerc is far more experienced at this level, at running and fighting for race wins on a regular basis than Lando Norris is, obviously. But unfortunately, Ferrari are the most inconsistent team of the whole grid, so we are not being allowed to enjoy good things right now. The hell was up to my... Oh, sorry, my feed as it's stuck, it's buffering. Oh my god, really? Oh my god, Jesus Christ, I really need to find a better feed than this. I mean, yeah, Lando's had a decent season, but you have to realise, how many chances do you really realistically get at fighting for a world championship if your name is not Max Verstappen or maybe, I don't know, Charles Leclerc or maybe Hamilton, Alonso, Vettel, you know what I mean? Like, if you're not a top driver in F1, then you're not necessarily going to get a lot of chances of fighting for world championships, I'm afraid. So I really hope Lando Norris doesn't come to regret this season. That's all I'm going to say. I really do hope that maybe Lando gets a chance to fight for another championship one day, but because I have to say his first attempt has been somewhat mediocre, to say the least. And I think that's a much better much better much better printout from what I had. Look, oh, let's look at the timing screens. Of course, last lap, Lando went a tenth quicker than Leclerc, 6 tenths faster than Verstappen. The gap is now 3.2 seconds between the two championship contenders for Red Bull and McLaren. I just hope for Lando's sake he gets to win at least another 2 or 3 races before the end of the year because, yeah, to be honest, I don't think he's going to win the championship. I think he's already cost himself far too many points to do it, but I just hope for his sake that he can sort of end the year on a high. Because, let's be honest, McLaren are definitely ahead of their own schedule of what they expect to be in terms of fighting for a championship again, because I think 2025, I think, was really their objective for me. Because you have to remember, 18 months ago, McLaren, back at the start of 2023, they had the worst score on the grid for some reason. Like, they started 2023 off terribly. And let's be honest, like, at the start of this season, I think McLaren looked like they only had, like, the 4th or 5th best car on the grid for the first 4 races of the year, so... But having said that, I think a much higher quality driver like a Hamilton, Alonso, peak Vettel, peak Raikkonen, Verstappen, Schumacher, I think definitely would be a lot closer to Max in the championship standings, to be honest. Although, of course, did I repeat Max's name? Yeah, okay. Sorry about that, but just so you know, I am now watching a Spanish feed since I don't have that other feed I had. Good news for Lando Norris, by the way, is that the fastest lap point will be removed next year. So Lando Norris will not have to push every lap of the final stint of a race just to get that extra bonus point for the fastest lap if he gets to be leading races next year. So that is going to be one less distraction for Lando if he gets to fight for the championship again in 2025. But unfortunately, he has been doing a fairly good impression of how Arsenal have been performing in terms of their Premier League battles against Man City over the course of a season. Lawson is in 10th place. Gasly is back up to 11th. 12th is Tsunoda. Magnussen comes out in 13th place. Hulkenberg is in 9th place. I don't know why you're saying not really in regards to what I just said. Like, I would like you to quantify what you mean by not really. Yeah, but I mean, this is a thing though. Like, if you listen to Zach Brown and Randy Singh talk in interviews, honestly, I think you have to understand what sort of mentality McLaren have to be in a championship fight, and I think you have to realize Zach Brown and Randy Singh are talking more like people who have been making good progress rather than necessarily being absolutely genuinely believing that they'd be fighting for the championship. To be honest, this year, I think even they're a bit surprised at how well this car has been performing. And we've got to give Max Verstappen some credit. That Max Verstappen has just been so unbelievably consistent this year. Like, it's absolutely crazy how good Verstappen's been, despite of just how poor the Red Bull has been in contrast. I mean, you only have to look at Perez to see that. Well, I mean, Perez is always stuck down in 7th, 8th, 9th place all the bloody time these days. I mean, Perez is now down in 7th, of course, behind Russell, who, of course, is... My God, Russell. Has Russell pitted yet? Yeah, Colapinto is definitely doing... Colapinto is definitely exposing Albon. I'm not even going to deny that, to be honest. I've already said it before. Albon has found his level at Williams. I don't think there's much else to say. George Russell has finally pitted after, was it 40 laps now? Yeah, 41 laps. Blimey, what a ridiculously amazing stint Russell has done on a hard compound tyres. Got to give Russell a bit of a round of applause, because to come out just 33 seconds behind Leclerc after a 41 lap stint is actually impressive, folks. Really impressive drive by Russell today. Like, I know his racetrack can be dodgy at times, but I think he's had a good race today, considering he started last, and now he's come out in 8th place. So, yeah, I think as long as he can overtake Hulkenberg and maybe take 6th place off Perez, I think Russell can be very happy with his efforts today. Oh, yeah, Russell had a 5-second penalty to serve, yeah. Yeah, but I think you have to listen to Lando Norris' pre-race interview where he said that even if he doesn't win the title, he believes he's had a good season nonetheless. So what I'm trying to say is you have to understand the mentality of the driver and the team involved. Like, I'm not saying that I think it's a great season for Lando, but you have to understand their mentality as an organization. And Carlos Sainz has now set the fastest lap of a 1 minute 37.786. Colapinto is down in 11th place, but my goodness me, Colapinto has been so impressive in his opening 4 races of his F1 career. Lawson is now up to 9th place. And I've got to say it, I think Perez might be taking a quick peek over his shoulder and I think he might be. I mean, if Lawson continues driving like this for the rest of the year, who knows? Who knows? I mean, obviously, I think Lawson is pretty much shoo-in to be at AlphaTauri. What they call now, RB for next season. I keep forgetting VCarb's name. Is it VCarb? Is it V carbohydrates? But maybe, and let's not rule it out, Lawson could well be a Red Bull driver maybe next season or in 2026. Norris is now 1.5 seconds behind Max Verstappen. And I think Norris has got Norris has got to at least try and beat Max Verstappen today. I think we all know Lando's not winning the championship unless Max suffers a huge DNF, but I think for the sake of his own pride and his own self-belief, he's got to try and just beat Max Verstappen at the minimum today and get on the podium, just to remind Max Verstappen that he is not going to lose this championship without a fight. Yeah, Perez is 6th. Did Tsunoda take a spin? I didn't notice because I'm not even interested in what Yuki Tsunoda is doing. I think obviously Yuki Tsunoda, God knows what he's going to be doing in 2026 onwards. Like, I mean, Honda are going to Aston Martin, but Aston Martin are not interested in Yuki Tsunoda, so I think it could be the end of the road for the young Japanese driver come the end of 2025, I'm afraid. He's a good, solid driver, but nothing more, to be honest. I mean, at least he can look back at his F1 career and be like, yeah, I've had a much better career than someone like Zhou Guanyu. Although, of course, I think earlier on this season, Tsunoda was given a penalty for allegedly lashing out at Zhou Guanyu over an on-track incident, and apparently calling him something really offensive. So, George Russell, new fastest lap, 37.6. Russell has been really impressive today, despite his being given a penalty for spinning off in qualifying yesterday. I don't know whether it was a penalty or whether it was a strategic decision by Mercedes due to the fact that I think they needed to fix the car after spinning off in the gravel yesterday. But I think if Russell can overtake Hulkenberg, then I think Russell can be very pleased with his efforts. And we have 12 laps to go, folks, on what looks like it's going to be a Ferrari 1-2 here around COTA. What a performance Leclerc has put in today. Honest to God, I really do hope Ferrari produce a championship contending car next year, because I want to see Leclerc fight Verstappen for the championship. I think Leclerc is the driver who has got the minerals and a bottle to fight a driver of Max's caliber for the title next year, because look, honestly, Norris is just not ready for this level of competition yet, to be honest. Tsunoda spinning right round like Flo Rida and Gesher. Oh my goodness me. Dude, it's not 2010 anymore. That's all I'm going to say. By the way, of course, I did hear the news on Wednesday that, what's his name? Was it Wednesday, Thursday? Don't know. But Liam Payne from One Direction was found lifeless on a balcony in Argentina, which is absolutely horrible news. Rest in peace to him, and of course condolences to his family. Yeah, obviously after the news of George Baldock's death before the Greek-England Nations League match, I think we should all cherish life whilst we have it. I don't know. I don't even know. I don't even know what's happened to Kesha, but yeah. That's why I said it's not 2010 anymore, because that is such a 2010-11 tier type of joke. Yeah, I mean, Max Verstappen is basically like the giga boss you find in all those big video game titles like Bowser, Mario Kart, Call of Duty, you name it all. Max Verstappen is basically level impossible in F1. And look at that, just over 7 tenths behind Max Verstappen now. We've got 11 laps to go. Max Verstappen is going to do everything he can to make sure his so-called best friend, Lando Norris, doesn't overtake him. This is going to be personal, and I think Max Verstappen is also going to want to prove a point that he cannot be beaten without a fight. Despite the fact he does still have a fairly comfortable championship lead, but I think Max will also want to prove a point. We could see fireworks in the final 10 laps, folks. Having said that, Leclerc and Sainz are in a very nice and comfy 1-2 up front for Ferrari. Ferrari, out of absolutely nowhere, out of the blue, are having an amazing race in a year where they're not in a championship fight, which just sums Ferrari up, really. The moment they're not even in contention, they suddenly start performing well, which is honestly, it can only be described as peak Maranello. Like, they will win when it doesn't even matter. They will be on top of their game when they have nothing to fight for, which is such a Ferrari thing to do. I mean, yes, I know Ferrari are obviously in contention to get second place off Red Bull, I beg your pardon, but I mean, for goodness sake, is anyone going to remember Ferrari finishing second in 2024? Honestly, and I have to be brutally honest, I think the answer is no. Whoa, look at that. There's nearly half a minute between Piastri and Perez. Perez is now 51.5 seconds behind the race leaders. My God, Perez, mate. Okay, I know Perez just set a personal best of 38.5, but damn, Perez is so... My God, Perez is even more finished than... well, Eric Ten Hag at Man United, but yet, just like Eric Ten Hag at Man United, Perez still remains. Oh, jeez. 9 laps to go, folks, in this race in Texas. We've not seen a lot of overtakes today, I've got to say. I think a lot of the action has come from the pit stops. Gasly and Colapinto dicing it out for P10. I don't know what to say. I mean, Gasly had an amazing qualifying performance yesterday, but the race has just not gone as planned due to the fact that we all know having a Renault engine at the back of your Alpine is the equivalent of having a parachute attached to the back of your car. So Gasly is doing the very best he can, I'm afraid. Mind you, what's his name? I know a guitarist for a band called Hawthorne Heights suddenly collapsed dead at the back end of 2007 because apparently there was like a mix of alcohol and some sort of, I don't know, prescription drug stuck in his system. So, and yeah, I was actually listening to that band last night, believe it or not. Colapinto, 1 minute 37.6. 1 minute 37.6. Where did that come from? And now Magnussen has overtaken Gasly for P11. It's, oh Lord, Gasly's day is going from bad to worse, I'm afraid. Oh my God. And how the hell does Magnussen, how the hell does Nico Hulkenberg always find his way into the points? The guy is just so good in the midfield. And I really would love to see Hulkenberg get at least one season in a top car before he retires because, okay, I know obviously his age is going to be a problem soon, but it just seems like such a shame that we've only ever seen Hulkenberg drive midfield cars and nothing else. Yeah, I mean, Max Verstappen, yeah, he's clearly a superior driver than Norris, and I think, you know, I mean, the championship fight is done for Norris, unless, of course, a miracle occurs now. I'm not even going to argue with that now. But what I was alluding to is the mentality that McLaren as an organisation have. They're not really geared up to, like, push flat out to win races on a regular basis yet. And I don't think Lando Norris is prepared to play the role of the villain, if you know what I mean. Like, Like when Nico Rosberg went and challenged Lewis Hamilton back in like 2016 and collided with Lewis at the Spanish and the Austrian Grand Prix and just came out and said, mate, it's just racing. Like, there's always going to be contact and controversy in this level of motorsport. I don't think Lando Norris is really willing to put his balls in that deep yet. He's just not got that grit or like aggression in him that a real true champion has. Like that willingness to dirty and smear his name and be willing to play the role of the bad guy if needs be. You know, Damon Hill versus Michael Schumacher was always full of bad blood between those two drivers in the mid-90s. Kimi Räikkönen, as we all know, like, despite being a very quiet person, wasn't afraid to be, like, stop being friendly to other drivers if he wanted to really, really not, like, if he really wanted to just focus on winning races and championship back in the day at McLaren at Ferrari. Vettel was ruthless as hell against Mark Webber. Alonso, I've already talked about Alonso a million times. Lewis Hamilton, we all know, was very willing to like get a bit argy-bargy if needs be. So did Senna, so did Prost, so did Mansell, PK. I mean, PK, we all know what PK is like. I mean, even 30-odd years into his retirement, he still cannot keep shooting his mouth off. Long after he's retired from motor racing. And Alex Albon sets the personal best of 1 minute 39.2, but my God, that's 9/10 of a second slower than Colapinto. Oh my God, Alex has been absolutely awful today. And I think, yeah, Alex Albon has been found out. You're not going to see me defend him anymore because, to be honest, this has been absolutely pathetic by Alex. I mean, I knew Alex Albon might struggle if you put a good driver alongside him, but he's been really shockingly poor enough since having had Logan Sargent kicked out. Can you believe that? Colapinto fastest lap. Like, my God, Colapinto is definitely one to watch out for in the future. Like, he could well be. I think there's going to be top teams. I'm sure the top teams are already monitoring Franco Colapinto's progress. Like, I'd love to see Franco at a top team at some point. Six laps to go. We've only had one retirement today, remarkably enough, which is, of course, the 7-time world champion driving car 44. Yeah, Verstappen is clearly the best driver in the world right now. My God, he's been holding up Lando Norris basically over the last 10 laps, and Lando cannot find a way past that Red Bull. Max Verstappen is driving like Fernando Alonso against Michael Schumacher at the 2005 San Marino Grand Prix. This is just generational defensive skills here. And I think it's safe to say we are living inside the Max Verstappen generation now. It's all about him. And this is why I keep saying that I would rather see Charles Leclerc fight the World Championship against Max. Not because I think Charles would actually beat Max for World Championship, but more because I think Charles Leclerc would definitely put Max under a lot more pressure than this, to be honest. And we have seen Charles Leclerc produce some pretty daring, bold overtakes on Max Verstappen in the last 3 years whenever Ferrari have had a car decent enough to fight the Red Bulls. I mean, as for Norris, the guy is a lot more tentative, a lot more indecisive in his overtakes, and it's just his general decision-making, really. So, unfortunately, this is all we're getting from Lando, and oh, Lando's got Max. I think Lando's overtaken Max. Oh, but Max takes a place back. Oh, and Max just surviving a brief scare there. Looked like Lando Norris had finally found a way past the stubborn Red Bull. Unbelievable stuff, folks. Man, this is going to be a real test of nerves now between Max and Norris. Of course, saying this though, the championship might be done, metaphorically speaking, but this is going to be all about pride between the Dutchman and the British-Belgian driver. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think Charles Leclerc is definitely far more consistent than Norris. That's what I'm trying to insinuate. That's why I would rather see Charles Leclerc get into a championship fight again with Max Verstappen like he was in the first half of 2022, because I think Leclerc can sustain the pressure for a lot longer than Norris. Of course, say this. Alex Albon is going to be roasted alive by Carlos Sainz if he doesn't improve his form next season. And yes, Lando Norris has got in front of Max, but can he hold on through these next sequence of corners in Sector 3? It looks like Lando Norris, I think, might have finally got the job done once and for all. And yeah, I think Max is more or less, can Max close back in? No. I think Lando's got the job done, folks. I think Lando, yes. It might not be enough to get Lando Norris into the championship fight again. Max pushed Norris out, yeah, but I think Norris will probably take a lot of solace from this result if he can hang on to third place, but Max has closed up again, thanks to DRS. Piastri is slowly closing back in, but I think with about 3 laps to go, I don't think Piastri is going to pull off a miracle, I'm afraid. I think Norris, though, if he can just hang on for the last 3 laps, obviously, I don't think he's going to win the championship, but at least he's going to show everyone that he will lose the championship with a bit of fight in his belly. At least he is not going to go out with a whimper, at least, despite all his troubles and his mistakes over the season. At least Norris is showing a bit of fight and aggression today. Because let's face it, I think Ferrari deserved to finish first and second, if I'm going to be honest, in terms of pure pace. Russell is going after Perez. I mean, my God, Russell has been outstanding today for Mercedes. Definitely nowhere near the fastest car on the grid, but he's absolutely kept himself. He did a mighty 41-lap stint on the hard tyres, and he is within touching distance of stealing P6 off Sergio Perez today in today's race. Well, look, I know obviously Norris has not been super great, but I think it's just a matter of putting a statement out there to show that in spite of all his mistakes and his problems throughout the year, he is trying to fight back at least, despite the mistakes he's committed. It's obviously not anything close to being a great weekend for Norris. It has been really disappointing because, of course, Norris did get overtaken by Sainz for P2 yesterday in a sprint, but he's trying to fight back at least. Although, of course, I will say getting beaten off the line by both Ferraris and Max wasn't good either, so well, oh, I don't know about that, mate. I mean, the fact of the matter is, Max came into this weekend 52 points ahead, and he will be leaving COTA 52 points ahead again. So Norris has taken 0 points out of Verstappen's championship lead, I'm afraid. It's just remained static, so having said that, I think even if Norris had made a great start and led the first stint, I have to say, I don't quite think he'd be beating Leclerc today, even if he had driven a better race, to be honest, because Ferrari, I think, have had the best car in race trim today. but you could argue maybe Norris has probably bottled at least maybe 3 points to Carlos Sainz. So, of course, I mean, Carlos Sainz is going to finish second and about over 10 seconds ahead of Lando Norris. So, I mean, maybe that's one position Lando Norris should have taken, if I'm going to be honest. And with the amount of time he's lost on Max Verstappen, I think, yeah, this is really quite disappointing for Lando, because I think without being held up by Max, I mean, Lando could actually be in a position where he's actually fighting Sainz for second instead. And oh god, Esteban Ocon has taken the fastest lap point. I'm laughing because he's down in 18th place. So, oh, comical stuff here, folks. 37.33. I think Ocon has obviously gone to the pits to bolt on a new pair of soft tyres, and yeah, 11 points per weekend. I think we're definitely looking at DNF territory now for Max Verstappen, in order for Lando Norris to get back in with a realistic chance of fighting for the championship. I think all those mistakes Lando made, clashing with Max at Austria, losing the race at Canada, Spain, Britain, Hungary, that terrible weekend McLaren had at Belgium, losing the race to Leclerc at Monza. I mean, it's all added up, and I think this championship is just long gone for Norris. He needs a miracle now. Wait, hang on a minute. Are you talking about possible 5-second penalty for Norris? Is there an investigation coming up for Lando Norris? Oh dear, I mean, that's going to be interesting. Well, even if Norris gets a penalty, well, at least, even though he's not exactly had a clean weekend of any sort, at least he's ending the weekend on a bit of a high note by overtaking Max at a minimum. Yeah, he got pole position in qualifying, but of course, as we all know, his race starts are really bad, shockingly poor, to be honest. But even just any driver in the midfield, I would consider his race starts to be really bad. And yeah, Norris penalty. Oh dear, yeah, well, yeah, Norris's racecraft is really poor, to be honest. I think there's not much else to say, to be honest. This championship is definitely over now for Norris. Like, realistically, it is over now. Absolutely over. I mean, at least McLaren probably will hang on to win the Constructors' title. And I think, obviously, Verstappen's taken third place. Verstappen taking third place on the final lap, it seems, on the road. What's going on here? But Norris is... No. But look, okay, yeah, Verstappen's in third place. The two Ferraris win the race from Leclerc ahead of Sainz. Congratulations. I'll give you a clap. Yeah, well done, Ferrari. Grazie, whatever. I think it's got to be an A-star this weekend for Charles Leclerc. Fantastic start to take pole position. Okay, I know he finished fourth in the sprint race, but it's not as if like he's in a championship fight, so who cares about that? Second place, Carlos Sainz. Okay, he was struggling to get ahead of Max early on, but I think I'll give him like a B+ today. Very good race considering he now only has like 5 races remaining at Maranello, so I can be pleased with his efforts. Third place, Max Verstappen. I've got to give him an A grade for Max this weekend. Absolutely champions drive all weekend, winning the sprint race winning his first sprint race in 4 months. What a driver in a weekend where Red Bull were under investigation for their babe device now, apparently, having already lost their asymmetric braking system earlier on this season. But Max Verstappen, regardless of what state the car is in, always delivers the good, a true generational talent. And now, of course, I'm going to talk about McLaren. I hope Zach and Adrian have an eye to see that McLaren might need a new driver lineup. Hey, thinking about that, I was thinking about this last night, that maybe McLaren could do a driver swap with Williams to swap Lando Norris and Carlos Sainz, because I have to say, I think Carlos Sainz would be an upgrade on Lando Norris, I'm afraid. I mean, Oscar Piastri, I think, is still a young developing driver, so obviously I think they would like to keep hold of a young developing talent in Piastri. But as for Norris, yeah, I think Norris, I'm afraid it's got to be a B minus, because, yeah, he can drive quickly when he feels the car is working the way he wants it to, but he'll make loads of stupid errors all over the place, so I'm fed up with Lando Norris now. I mean, I'm not going to defend him anymore. Like, I don't know whether the whole mentality excuse is acceptable anymore. I don't think it is. No, it's not. Piastri, I'll give him like a B minus. Yeah, out qualified by Norris, out race, but frankly, I mean, he's only in his second year, so who cares? And he's not fighting for the championship. Sixth place. Oh, yeah, Leclerc's got 8 career wins, the same as Ricciardo. That's pretty good. Sixth place, George Russell. Yeah, he's spot off in qualifying, but I'm going to give him a B plus for his efforts from 20th on the grid to 6th place, 41 laps on the hard tyres. Remarkable drive despite his error in qualifying. 7th place, Sergio Perez. I'll give him a C grade. Nearly a minute behind the 2 Ferraris, 40 seconds behind his teammate. Enough said. 8th place, Hulkenberg. It's got to be another A grade from me today. Okay, I know he got out qualified by Magnussen, but when it matters most on race day, he gets the job done yet again. 9th place, Liam Lawson. I'll give him an A+. Outstanding comeback drive, having been out for a year due to Ricciardo hogging his seat at RB. And Lawson could be in contention for Red Bull seat maybe next year or the year after. 10th place, Colapinto. It's got to be a B+. Once again, destroying Albon to get the final point. What an impressive driver this guy is from Argentina. 11th place, Magnussen. B minus. Ran in the points early on, but then, of course, he fell off as usual. 12th place, Gasly. C plus. Fantastic qualifying, but then he fell off in a race. 13th place, Alonso. I'll just give him a C grade. Just never looked like he was in contention all weekend, to be honest, for any points. 14th, Tsunoda, C minus, destroyed by Lawson. 15th, Stroll, C minus, who cares? 16th, Albon, D grade, shockingly poor for a driver of his experience. 17th place, Bottas, C grade. 18th place, Ocon, D grade, way too slow all weekend for some reason. 19th place, Zhou, D grade, nowhere to be seen. Hamilton, D grade, spun off early on, bad mistake. And yeah, Norris once again bottling the start of the race. Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right, John. I mean, Lando Norris is just not getting the job done, is he, anymore? I mean, the McLaren need a proper team leader, to be honest. Like, I don't think it would be a stupid decision, or even like a bad decision, or even like what you would call like a traitorous decision for McLaren to swap Lando Norris back for Carlos Sainz, because for what I see, I mean, Carlos Sainz is a better team leader than Lando Norris, and yeah, I mean, so many great drivers have won around here. Vettel, Raikkonen, Leclerc. Yeah, I mean, Lando Norris, I mean, if Lando Norris isn't prepared to, like, raise his game to the standards required for a top team, then he'd be better off joining a team like Williams, where they will celebrate finishing 7th and 8th place. Like, if he's happy with a career like that, then yeah, I think it'd be pretty good for. I think it would suit all parties for Lando Norris and Carlos Sainz to swap seats, because if you cannot withstand the pressure in the kitchen, you better get out of the kitchen. I mean, Lando Norris, with his 6 years experience of Formula One, he should know better than this. He should know way better than this. He's only been in Formula One for like, what, 1 year less than Charles Leclerc, but yet, Charles Leclerc is so much more composed and so much more calmer in these sort of situations. I think, I'm going to say this. I mean, if Lando Norris has really sacked Golden Child, then Zach Brown needs to wake up in the same way Papa Stroll needs to wake up about his own son, because, come on, mate, this is not good enough. Like, okay, I know the expectations for Lance Stroll are nowhere near as high as Lando Norris, but still, I'm not really that impressed. And yeah, 9 out of 10 for Verstappen. I think that's well deserved. But as for Lando Norris, I mean, I was going to do a video like a few days ago about could Lando Norris honestly still have any chance of winning the championship. But the thing is, though, with Lando Norris is that he's been relying on the car so much just to stay in the championship, which is, I mean, I think we all know, like, you can't just rely on a car just to be in a championship fight all the time, because eventually, if you are like a average driver when it comes to mentality, then you're going to get exposed. And if you can't handle team politics or teams who can't develop a car properly or cars that have handling issues, at some point, eventually, you will fall off. And yeah, I think Red Bull do have the third best car, but they have Max Verstappen. So really, like, let's be honest, I don't think Red Bull are that bothered about losing the Constructors' title this year, because they've already won it 6 times in their history, so it's not really that much of a problem for them. I think, even though Perez is struggling a lot, I think Red Bull will be satisfied, because obviously lots of issues on and off track. Yeah, I am well aware that obviously James Vowles is not going to swap Carlos for Lando, because obviously Williams want to be a serious team again, but I'm just saying from like a fan point of view, like, I would prefer to see Carlos Sainz remain in a top car and Lando Norris to probably go back to a midfield car again, because it just doesn't feel like Lando Norris is just not a team leader. He's just not a team leader. And like the way he behaves, it just doesn't give me that vibe of him being a real top driver at all. Too many nerves, too many mistakes, too much fidgeting, too much dwelling on mistakes he's made, too easily distracted. It's like, yeah, the psychological makeup is just not there for Lando Norris. I mean, with Carlos Sainz, on the other hand, I think Carlos Sainz is a lot more forceful, a bit more assertive in his personality. But the only problem with Carlos Sainz is, of course, the guy is now already, 30 years old. And, of course, I think he has proven himself to be somewhat ultimately slower than Charles Leclerc when it comes to ultimate pace. So that's probably why maybe McLaren probably are not exactly, like, desperate to get Carlos Sainz, and I don't think, obviously, as you said, James Vowles doesn't want to get rid of Carlos Sainz, because it's not like Lando Norris is going to do anything better than Sainz. Mercedes drivers are so inconsistent. I don't know where. Yeah, I think the thing with McLaren is obviously they're a team that have pretty much set their sights on getting young talents after the departure of course, Fernando Alonso back in 2018. Max's first ever third place since Monaco 2022. That's interesting. Let's be real here, folks. I mean, Max Verstappen is just so consistent to the point where I think as long as Max finishes anywhere in the top 5, I mean, as long as he keeps getting first and second whenever he doesn't win a second, when he doesn't win a race, or 4th place, I think that's usually good enough for him. But that is an interesting statistic, because, of course, last season, Max Verstappen won 19 out of 22 races. So I mean, it was a far more common sight to see Max Verstappen on top of the podium than anywhere else, to be honest. Yeah, I mean, we all know Barcelona are back on form, so I don't want to talk about that. Yeah, I know. I mean, it does say a lot that whenever Max Verstappen doesn't win, he's probably going to finish second. And of course, because he's so good, he's actually stopped the likes of Mercedes and Ferrari and even McLaren get 1-2s in their own right. So that's just how good Max Verstappen is at just staying in the fight for not only race wins, but just just making sure he can protect his own championship lead. Yeah, it does feel like McLaren are going all like full youth development, but it's like kind of a bit like what you see with Chelsea in the Premier League, but it's not exactly what I call a winning formula by any stretch of the imagination, though. Like, it's very much a strategy where you're just constantly being on investing for the future and investing in young children, young kids. Yeah, I am well aware that Lando Norris now needs about 9 points to cut Max Verstappen's advantage in the next 4 races on average. Like 9 races out of Max's lead on average in every race we get now until Abu Dhabi. But like I said, I think the championship is done for Lando because I don't see him having the psychological makeup or the actual driving ability to make up the deficit in time to potentially have like an outside chance of winning this title. And it just feels like, with a 24 race calendar, it just feels like he is stretching out the inevitable, which is 4 world championships for Max Verstappen. Like, it's just, we all know what's going to happen next. It doesn't feel like there's that sort of suspense like when I was much younger, like when I used to see Kimi Räikkönen get into close fights with Michael Schumacher and, of course, Alonso and Hamilton in 2007. Of course, Kimi also had to fight Montoya in 2003, so yeah. But, I think, obviously, having less races would technically mean that teams would be afforded more time to go out testing privately, so they're not under pressure to be developing bits and pieces during a race weekend, which tend to be very busy and hectic and pressure filled with, of course, PR commitments, sponsorship functions, meet the fans. Because, in a testing session, you're just testing. You're not doing any, like, PR work or anything. You're just driving the car around, and then you're going straight to the garage to pick up data. Like, and I think this is what I don't like about Formula One, in that it's become very similar to modern football, in that there's just so many games and so many events, and it just goes on and on and on and on forever just to I don't know, eventually get to finding out who actually wins the entire championship or league tournament or whatever it is. What you're talking about? Are you talking about Sebastian Vettel there? I don't know who you're talking about there, say Regara. 4 titles at 27 years old, like. I mean, I guess if, I don't know. I mean, Vettel was 26 years old when he became a quadruple champion. Oh, you're talking about Max Verstappen? Yes, how can I forget? Silly me, yeah. Max Verstappen, okay, I know he's a bit older than Vettel when he became a quadruple champion, but still, very good nonetheless. And one thing, if Max Verstappen becomes 2025 world champion, as well as win this season's championship, he will become the youngest ever F1 driver to become a quintuple world champion, the youngest driver to win 5 world championships in F1 history, as well as being the youngest driver to win 5 consecutive championships. That is one record you can never take away from Max Verstappen if he makes it 5 World Championships at the age of 28 and he makes it 5 consecutive championships at the age of 28. That is going to be probably one of the hardest records for any driver to break in the future of F1. I mean, no matter how talented those young drivers may be, if they ever do appear in F1, I think it could well be the ultimate unbeatable F1 record. Like, that would be mind-blowing. Oh my goodness me, like, I mean, Michael Schumacher had to wait until he was, like, 33 years old to become a 5-time champion, and he had to wait until he was 35 years old to make it 5 consecutive championships in 2004. Wow. Of course, Lewis Hamilton, what year was it? Yeah, 2018 when he won his 5th championship. He was also 33 years old, but as we all know, Hamilton only ever managed to win 4 consecutive titles between 2017 and 2020 because he lost 2016 to the one and only Monaco-based YouTuber Nico Rosberg. So, unlucky there. Unlucky, Lewis. But yeah, Max Verstappen has definitely got a chance to go into the history books. I will make one criticism of Max Verstappen is that I think the opposition he has faced, though, in recent times has been a bit weak. You know, I mean, Lando Norris has not really covered himself in glory. Ferrari, as an organization, remain disorganized, inconsistent, unprofessional, and so error-prone in their development. So, Verstappen's set to become the first driver since Piquet Sr. to win multiple championships when his team didn't win the Constructors. Yes, absolutely correct, folks. Yeah. Who can McLaren replace Norris, Sainz and Carlos? I don't know, mate. I think McLaren do have a bit of a problem in that they do not seem to be able to attract genuine top elite drivers. And I mean, obviously with Fernando Alonso, I mean, I think their relationship fell apart after, what was it, 2017 and 18 due to the Honda failure. And, you know, I mean, for whatever reason, I mean, Alonso just doesn't want to be at McLaren. Maybe land Charles Leclerc, but, dude, I'm just going to be honest with Charles Leclerc. I think Charles Leclerc will spend all of his peak prime years at Ferrari. Charles Leclerc is far too loyal to leave a team like Ferrari. Like, I've always had this feeling that Charles Leclerc's loyalty to Ferrari could well cost him the chance of ever winning a world championship. It's a very sad thing to say, but I think he could end up with a similar fate to John Alesi if he's not careful, in that he wastes all of his prime years at Ferrari, which is going to be so sad to think of, but I mean, it just seems to be Ferrari and Charles Leclerc absolutely love each other for some reason, and we all saw it back in the early 90s where John Alesi gave his best years to Ferrari when he could have gone to Williams, maybe McLaren as well, but Ferrari were just such a big draw towards him due to his Sicilian roots. So, you know, it's sad to say it, but yeah, I think the red carpet has been rolled out for Max Verstappen to win 5 World Championships, become the youngest driver to win 5 championships, and the youngest to make it 5 in a row as well. Yeah, 8 career wins. Yeah, don't you worry, folks. Charles Leclerc will be moving ahead of a certain Australian driver in terms of career wins very soon, because, yeah, I mean, I think Daniel Ricciardo very much maximised his peak, and then once he fell off his peak, he was only there for the money. So I think enough has been said about Daniel Ricciardo. I know he's not the most popular around this F1 channel, YouTube channel here, but he is very popular around other circles who seem to just like him for his personality. And Leclerc and Ferrari are matching Evan. Well, if you say so, yes, he is, but what a waste. What a waste of talent. I really hope Ferrari get their act together soon, because otherwise, yeah, bit of a sad story if we never get to see Charles Leclerc get to win a championship like Kimi. Would be funny if Max and Water fall out. McLaren needs to capitalise on the opportunity to kick Lando out for Max. Yeah, well, I've been hearing rumours that Max Verstappen could be joining Aston Martin or Mercedes in the future. Could be joining, what's it, Mercedes or Aston Martin, according to rumours. But then I have also heard that Max could well be considering retirement from Formula One due to the fact that there's always been stories about Max and his relationship with his dad, and how many people think that Max is already doing this F1 stuff for the sake of his dad's ego, and the fact that the best way of Max dishing out revenge against his dad is just to retire from Formula One altogether ASAP and make his dad actually find something else to do with his life other than living his F1 career through his son. Because, of course, I think we all know the background between Max and his father growing up. And the fact that we have seen Max Verstappen appear grumpy during race weekends and appearing like he would rather do something else, in spite of his own driving brilliance, and the fact he keeps saying things like, I don't want to be here in F1 past the age of 35 years old. I want to enjoy my life. I want to enjoy the money I've earned. I want to enjoy my riches, because I don't need Formula One for the money anymore. Like, I'm a multi-millionaire almost 100 times over. And, you know, if Max wants to retire now, I mean, he can easily do it. Like, he doesn't need the money. To be honest, most of the well, I think at least half of the drivers on the grid don't really need the money themselves, so I mean, at least Leclerc has finished as a runners-up. Yeah, well, yeah, but the thing is, with the talent he's got, like, it'd be a shame to never see him become a champion at least once in his lifetime. And if he was to end up becoming a needy man and never winning a championship, his name would always end up being mentioned on, like, the best ever drivers to never win a championship list. Along with, like, Sterling Moss, Jules Villeneuve, Roddy Peterson. Who else? I'm trying to think. Juan Pablo Montoya, of course. Rubens Barrichello. Gerhard Berger, if you think, depending on how good you think Gerhard Berger really was. I don't know. Clay Regazzoni was pretty good in the 70s before, of course, he suffered a spinal fracture, which left him in a wheelchair until he died in 2006. Wolfgang von Trips died in a penultimate race at the Italian Grand Prix in 1961 when it looked like he was certain to become a champion because he had an 8-point advantage over Phil Hill. Didier Pironi smashed his legs completely at the German Grand Prix Hockenheim practice session in 1982. Yeah, I mean, I would like to see Charles Leclerc win a championship, mate. I don't want to see Charles Leclerc go on trophyless. Like, by the way, I'm not a Charles Leclerc fan by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm just saying it would be very sad for the sport to see Charles Leclerc end his career as a nearly man, but he would definitely go down as one of the most talented nearly men if it was to happen, though, because he's definitely better than Daniel Ricciardo, that's for sure. Mike, what? Mitch Evans has 4 runners-up titles in Formula E. Blimey, my God, that's some serious bad luck. Comparing, okay, I'm not comparing Sterling Moss to Charles Leclerc. I'm just saying that Charles Leclerc is definitely better than someone like Daniel Ricciardo. That's all I'm saying. I'm just saying he would definitely get my nod ahead of Daniel Ricciardo if I was to pick, like, I don't know, 7 or 8 drivers that are like absolute shoo-ins for an all-time best to never win a championship list. I mean, Sterling Moss is definitely on top of the list. Don't you worry. Like 4 runners-up finishes, and I think 16 race wins in the space of about 60 race starts. Like, I don't think any driver is getting close to that record ever. But I mean, I'm just saying that Charles Leclerc would get the nod ahead of someone like David Coulthard, Daniel Ricciardo for certain. Like, I mean, those 2 drivers, I think, got carried by their cars, to be honest. Definitely would beat Valtteri Bottas as well, because, of course, Bottas finished runners up twice when he was at Mercedes. And, of course, we all know the car definitely helped Bottas a fair bit in his time there. I mean, I'm trying to think of other nearly men. I would definitely probably put Charles Leclerc ahead of Mark Webber, who, I mean, was very good when he was at Jaguar and Williams, but I think Mark Webber definitely faded off in his last 3 years in F1, so, I mean, that was very sad to see. I mean, and the thing is, Mark Webber only actually finished 3rd 3 times in the championship standings in his career, so despite Mark winning 9 times in the SF1 career, I mean, Mark Webber never even finished in the top 2 in the driver's standings, remarkably enough. 2nd in 2022, 3rd 23, 2nd in 24. Oh man, that is so rough for Mitch Evans. Hope he gets better luck soon in Formula E, but of course, you know, well, I mean, I think every sport needs their nearly men, like we see in Formula 1 with Sterling Moss. I mean, Tottenham have never won a Premier League title in English Football League. I mean, they've not won any, I don't know, English top division titles since 1961. So, I mean, that's another story itself. I can't think of any other examples outside of F1 and football, though, since, of course, I don't really care about that much else in sport than those 2 type of competitions. I mean, the Netherlands have never won the Football World Cup, and neither have Croatia, so there's always there. But Lando Norris is now what? Let me just do the calculations. Yeah, he's now got to be 56 points behind Max Verstappen with 5 race weekends remaining. So it's very safe to say that Lando Norris is already now definitely in the territory of requiring a DNF for Max Verstappen in the next 2 to 3 or 4 race weekends. Yeah, say we're talking about drivers who have only ever finished running up. Hello there, Clementine. I hope you're doing well from France. I hope, of course, I know it's now. It has to be about way past 11 o'clock at night where you live, so hope you're doing well there in France. France still only have one world champion in Alain Prost, remarkably enough, despite having produced many race winners. What are Team Norris saying? Oh my god, what is their latest excuse? I want to know what their latest excuse is. Like, oh, Lando's pit strategy was awful. Like, Lando Norris was losing time in the first stint all by himself, so using the same medium tyres as the front runners. So I don't know what else there is. 57 points, yeah. 57 points, yeah. You're absolutely correct. But regardless of whether it's 56 or 57 points, I can't see a Lando Norris championship come Abu Dhabi. It's just not happening anymore. Like, you've got to be the most deluded, fanatical Lando Norris fan to honestly believe that Lando is going to win this championship. I just can't see it. Like, this weekend just was not the one. Like, even when he got pole position, just something just made me think, yeah, but is he actually going to win the race tomorrow? And deep down, I always had a feeling he would probably bottle the start. And yeah, he bottled the start. Hello there, Roxford. Hope you're doing well. I did say hello to you on Chazza HT's stream. I mean, I would love to know what Chaz Race Steve thinks, but I'm pretty sure Chaz. Oh yeah, the stewards. Yeah, Team Norris is probably crying about the flipping stewards, like as if that makes a difference. Because I did say that even if Lando Norris overtook Max for third place, he still is not winning the championship. It makes no real tangible difference anymore. Just getting third place today was probably going to be more about a matter of pride for Lando Norris. That's it. It's not actually like going to make a big enough difference in the championship fight anymore. And the fact of the matter is, like, he spent far too much time being held up by Max's slower Red Bull, and which costed him a chance of having any chance of getting at least second place away from Carlos Sainz. So, not good enough regardless of what happened in the last 5 or 6 laps. I would have taken Max's wing off. Oh my god, really, mate? Like, really? Like, dude, that's... Ugh. Yeah, well, the problem with Lando Norris is that he is not a Nico Rosberg. He's not a Damon Hill. He's not a Michael Schumacher, a Vettel, or Hamilton, or Alonso in that he would be willing to get his hands dirty and basically get stuck in, like people would say about Bruno Guimaraes when he plays for Newcastle, or I don't know, any English footballer like, well, not English footballer, any footballer like Roy Keane or Vinnie Jones or whatever country they come from. He's just not that type of bloke. That's all I'm saying. Lando Norris just doesn't have a killer streak about him. He doesn't have that willingness to play that pantomime villain that you see in Formula One and many other sports we can talk about. You know, I mean, Paul Tracy in IndyCar racing was more than willing to be the bad guy if he felt like he could get an advantage out of it. But of course, Paul Tracy only ever won the IndyCar COTA series once in 2003. And of course, I think his most famous moments in IndyCar racing has to be when he was stripped of the 2002 Indy 500 win due to the fact that I'm trying to think. This is a really weird one. I think Helio Castroneves was on the verge of running out of fuel, but then the pace car came out because there was a late crash with 2 laps to go. And apparently, I think Paul Tracy overtook Helio Castroneves just as Castroneves had to slow down because of fuel. But then they then said that Paul Tracy overtook after the pace car and yellow flag had come out. So that was a hugely controversial one. And I think that was a heavy dose of politics because, of course, IndyCar was divided between karts and the IRL series that was ran separately by Tony George at the time. But that's another story in itself. Yeah, Lando Norris is just a good F1 driver. That's it. That's it. That's all he is. I don't think there's much else to say about Lando at this point. McLaren, yeah, I think McLaren are the ones who are Chelsea, really. I mean, at this point, Red Bull feel like they're Man City to me. Like, they're the ones who felt like Man... Oh, yeah. Sorry, Silverback. I think if you can tell, yeah, 56 laps have been completed. I'm sorry, mate. The race has finished. Leclerc and Sainz first and second for the Scuderia Ferrari. I mean, it's in your time zone, mate. You should be... How the hell did you not go and watch the race today? It's like... It should be afternoon where you are in America right now. Like, dude, the race is finished. Verstappen beat Norris in third place. Oh, God. Oh, dear. Sorry, Silverback. Yeah. Today was your chance to actually go and watch the race at a decent, reasonable time today, and you missed it. So, don't know what to say, mate. Don't know what to say. I mean, I suppose you're not the only person to have probably missed the race. I'm pretty sure there's probably a lot of people who probably didn't even realize the race was taking place today because, of course, yeah, what can be said? You know, 4-week break. We had a 4-week gap from the last race back at Singapore until today's race weekend at COTA. And of course, Singapore took place at, what was it, 8 o'clock at night time in Singapore, which was like 1 o'clock in UK time, which was like 8 o'clock morning time in America. So I suppose, yeah, the time differences can mess everyone up, and the race starts can just start at pretty much any time of the day these days. I think we all know, of course, the race at Las Vegas is probably going to be taking place at like 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock at night later on this season. So that's going to be another difficult one to work out. And of course, it'll be taking place on Saturday night in America. Was it going to be like 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock in Britain and Europe for the race, which is going to be Sunday morning, by the way. Yeah, I mean, Chelsea and Red Bull, obviously. I can see the comparison. Okay, I hope you're doing well, Silverback. I don't know about what happened to you and your family. I hope everyone's well there, because I have not caught up for, I don't know, I mean, I've not been watching Chaz's chat recently, sorry. Yeah, Ferrari is definitely Man United. I mean, they were red. They used to be amazing back in the day, during the mid-2000s. But in the last 10 years, they have fallen off horribly. And of course, in Ferrari's case, they've fallen off horribly since 2009. So it's even worse for Ferrari, if I'm going to be honest. Could argue Ferrari and Liverpool as well, but thing is, though, Liverpool were really successful during the 80s. Back then in the 80s, Ferrari obviously only managed to win 2 constructors' titles, so, and he didn't win a single drivers' championship between 79 and 2000. So, okay, I think that the comparison there is a bit of a funny one, but I don't know who the hell the Saints are. Like, as far as I'm concerned, like, when I hear the name Saints, I just think of Southampton Football Club in Britain, in England, who by and large are not a very successful club in English football. So Southampton, no, they lost to Leicester 3-2 yesterday. What a shocking result, I've got to say. They were 2-0 up and he blew it. Yeah, Russell Martin is probably going to be sacked soon, so I don't even know what to say. Calling City Red Bull is a little question. I don't know, mate. I mean, oh God, it's so hard to compare football to Formula 1 night. We could do this all day long. Sorry. Okay. Wait, did Southampton win the FA Cup in 76? Blimey, I mean, Derby won the FA Cup in 946, so... Sorry. You can have it back. Yeah, so Southampton are kind of successful. Yeah, it's a weird one with Southampton. I mean, I know they had like a really long period between like 1979 to about 2005 where they did not get relegated from the Premier League. And then they spent the next 7 or 8 years struggling in a championship in League One. But since then, though, they've actually have been pretty good. Ish. Okay, I know they got relegated again a couple of years ago when they came back up, but thing is, though, when was was that Southampton's last trophy? The 1976 FA Cup? I mean, that's basically just 1 year after Derby County won the Premier League / First Division in 1975. So, and I think you all know that Derby County have been a club that has spent most of the past 22 years in the Championship, which is so weird to think because obviously Derby have had so many problems with like their owners and just frankly buying so many rubbish players and players not wanting to come to Derby because we're in the middle of the East Midlands and all that. No, I swear to God, Southampton reached the playoffs last year, so that's a bit of a funny one. Carabao Cup final, I don't know about that, mate. I don't remember because obviously I don't watch football all the time, unfortunately. I don't know. Southampton are like a classic nearly man club like Newcastle. And the fact that they're basically like the biggest club in their local area by like a country mile as well, which is probably why I think Southampton and Newcastle always seem to get loads of success because they get like all the best young kids to join their club like easily because Southampton are like a club stuck on the south coast and Newcastle are like the only big club in the northeast, northeast, I beg your pardon. And then my club, Derby, are just surrounded by like similar sized clubs like Leeds United, Sheffield United, Nottingham Forest, Leicester City, even maybe Coventry City. And then you even get small clubs like Burton Albion, Chesterfield, and Notts County, who are also pretty decent in their own right. And I think even Burton Albion spent a couple of years in the Championship, so it's actually pretty hard for like Derby to capture all the best kids in the area. Oh yeah. I know Southampton obviously being on the coast, you get to go on like the motorbikes, yachts, and all that. Unfortunately, though, of course, the weather down in Southampton is nowhere near as good as what it's like in Monaco, where, of course, the sun is out far more often than the south coast of France. Whereas where I live in Derby is just hills and valleys and the countryside everywhere. So I think apparently we're like the city that's like the furthest away from like any coastline than any other city in the whole country, including what you get in like Scotland and Wales and whatever. I hate how tight-lipped Pep has been when it comes to leave or stay. I don't know whether Pep Guardiola will get it. Look, I don't know whether Pep Guardiola will. I don't know whether Pep Guardiola will get another job in like football management again, to be honest, because I think he's now like 53 years old, and I think if he wins the Champions League one more time before the end of the year, then I think he's just going to see his whole football career as basically mission accomplished because, you know, winning the Champions League twice with Barcelona and, of course, doing it twice with Man City, I think that's pretty much as good as it gets, to be honest. And I think with his brand of football, it's like maximize to get the best out of teams on a domestic league level rather than like a knockout cup tournament like you see with like Thomas Tuchel and managing teams like Chelsea in the Champions League, Borussia Dortmund in the German DFB Pokal, France in like their own cup competitions, and of course, I know he's also got a couple of like French league titles for PSG, and of course, he won the Bundesliga in the back end of last year, even though he was only at the club for like 3 months. So I know some people don't fully accredit Bayern Munich's league title from last year to him completely, but at least Wolsey, being like the last 10 games of the season, I think there was very much a do or die mentality with Tuchel. And of course, Wolsey, he was also lucky that Dortmund bottled the title on the last day of the season. So at least Wolsey, that sort of psychological momentum push, like that I think Tuchel brings with him is sort of why he's so good at competition. It's just getting players up for games and finding the right tactics for a big match. Mourinho used to be absolutely amazing in his prime when he used to manage Chelsea and Real Madrid, but we are talking about 10 years ago now. Like, Mourinho is now stuck at Fenerbahce in Turkey, and that's really his level now. Like, I have never seen a manager go off the boil so horribly like Mourinho. Like, I just think it's like my way or the highways type of personality, and his sort of stubbornness has kind of seen him drop down the like football pyramid as time has gone on. Like, once decided by the top clubs at Chelsea, Real Madrid, Inter Milan, Man United, and then of course he was forced to then go on to Tottenham, Roma, and now Fenerbahce, which is like a step below, to be honest, in the hierarchy of football. It's still a very good managerial career, but it's definitely gone south in the last 7 years for Mourinho, I'm afraid. And I think Mourinho's just not really like that particularly motivated to like, I don't know, be like adjust this style of football and his personality for like the true elite clubs anymore. I mean, he wasn't very happy with his time at Real Madrid. He had to deal with Mesut Ozil and Cristiano Ronaldo and a couple of others, Ramos. Like, you know, the Madrid fans wanted to see their team play stylish, attractive, attacking football, and Mourinho is, you know, what he's like: defend, defend, defend. I think Spurs had fed out with Mourinho before that cup final, I'm afraid. I don't know what happened. I think Mourinho being so stubborn, I think has ultimately proven to be his downfall. City might get more Mendes clients because of the incoming sporting director. Maybe. Maybe. I don't know, mate. What do you mean? Is it? I keep forgetting. What's that football client agent's name is? Mendes. I don't know. I keep forgetting. Is it? I know. Did he used to manage Ronaldo and all the other guys around him? Yeah, I think I mean, this is a weird thing with Real Madrid is that because they always attract the best players in the world, they don't actually have to implement any sort of like football philosophy like you see at like Man City or Liverpool or Barcelona. To be honest, it's just a system that suits the players' talents. To be honest, like cramming Ronaldo, Benzema, and Bale in the same team, and now what? And of course, they're now doing the same as was it cramming the same, was it a suitable style of football to fit Mbappe, Vini, Bellingham, all together in the same team. But of course, there are teething issues when you have to try and do stuff like that because, of course, I think they like to take up very similar attacking positions. Xabi Alonso, will Xabi come to Man City? That's an interesting one because I don't know. I don't really think Bayer Leverkusen's style of football is that similar to Man City's at all. Like, I think Bayer Leverkusen like to play on the counter attack way more than Man City, and I think it's a lot more. It's more similar to like Atletico Madrid style of football. So I'm not sure about that. That would be a weird one to see. Xabi Alonso at Man City would just be really odd to see how he gets on with them. Yeah, you too, Roxford. I hope you enjoy your week. Oh yeah, the Mexican Grand Prix. Yeah, of course that's going to be an interesting watch to see. But the problem is, I know the reason why Chaz won't do Mexico is because he absolutely hates the track they've got, which I think he's absolutely correct in criticizing the track because it's such a horrible, slow, twisty layout. It's not a layout that really is conducive to entertaining F1 races at all. It's kind of like Hungary, Singapore, and Monaco put together in one, and it's just a horrible place to watch a race. I mean, don't get me wrong, of course. I mean, I will be doing a stream for the race, but I'm just saying that there might not be like, I don't know. I'll just be reading the chat throughout the race. So, like, yeah. Man City get Deserby, blind me. Isn't he at Marseille right now? That's really, my God. I don't know, that'd be a really strange one to see Deserby. That'd be so weird. I can't imagine, was it Man City getting hold of Robert. I don't think Man City would want Roberto De Zerbi. I don't really think his sort of personality would fit the club. I don't know. I mean, I have got to say this. It's going to be really interesting to see what Man City do when Pep leaves. Like, there's not many names I can think of that really suit that could like continue playing the same brand of football as Pep. I'd be very surprised, and I apologise to anyone watching. Yes, I know I've spent the last half an hour talking about football due to the subscribers I've got on this channel who. You told Chaz that Ferrari could win because they've got two very solid drivers. Yes, well done, Francesco Beta. Yes, you are correct. Ferrari indeed got the job done. But of course, you know, as we all know, Ferrari are so inconsistent. Like, 1 week they're on top, the next they're struggling down in 6th and 7th. Like, do not be surprised if next weekend Ferrari are nowhere to be seen again. I mean, they were fantastic at Monaco, and in the next race at Canada, both drivers crashed out of the race or had some problems in the pit stops. Like, most unpredictable team on the grid by some margin, Ferrari. Of course, I hope Mexico is like an exciting race, but unfortunately, it's not exactly like. I can understand why Chaz doesn't want to do a stream for Mexico because I think he's done a lot of streams for the Mexican Grand Prix, and because it's also a race that gets held at like 8 o'clock UK time, it's also a bit of a late one for Chaz, and the fact that the average speed of the race is a bit slow. Throw a safety car in there, and you are getting very close to the 2-hour time limit as well, which is not ideal. 2-hour, 3-hour time limit. Yeah, and I know in the UK, of course, like when they do the race highlights for Mexico, like you have to wait until like 12 o'clock at night in the UK to just watch the race highlights. So it's all a bit of a awkward one with Mexico. I think that's the other reason why Mexico has never been like anything close to being like the final race of the year or the penultimate race of the year, because it's just the race is not like consistently super entertaining enough, and I mean, it's just sort of like, it's also because of the time the race takes place, like the time difference is also not ideal. And of course, we all know security is also a huge problem in Mexico due to the poverty and the sort of like criminality you get in some parts of Mexico makes it also a race that it's not really a place teams like to hang out in either. It's not like Abu Dhabi or Japan where like the security levels are really high, or where else is where else is I know. Oh yeah, I know. Formula One has held championship finales in Brazil before, but I know it's a place that a lot of fans do like. But I think obviously, as I've mentioned, security is not exactly amazingly high in Latin America, I'm afraid. Although I do suppose if Colapinto continues his upward trajectory and maybe gets into like a championship winning car, we could see Argentina host a Grand Prix for the first time since 1998. Because of course I know Buenos Aires, which is like the area where Juan Manuel Fangio is from, has held a lot of F1 Grand Prix in the 20th century. When was the last time Alton spun off or retired from a race through his own mistake? Good question. Good question. I don't know. I actually can't remember. I think that was a very rare error that Hamilton made. Like, I think the last time I can remember Hamilton, like, going out of a race by himself by mistake has got to be the 2007 Chinese Grand Prix at Shanghai back in his first year, where, of course, he ended up losing the championship to Kimi Raikkonen. That's probably the most famous era of Hamilton's career, by the way. I heard career want to return to F1. Nah, I don't know why, mate. Korea's not really like a big hotspot for Formula One, to be honest. Like, we've never had like any Korean car manufacturers, and we've never even have had like an F1 driver come from Korea either. So it's like, what's the point of having South Korea on the calendar? Because like, no, we've never seen Hyundai or what's it, Kia, Daewoo ever be interested in doing anything with Formula One on the technical side, the engineering side, or even the sponsorship side. And I don't think I've even seen like a single South Korean enter like the junior series in Formula 2 or Formula 3. So it's like, I mean, I know there's been like a couple of Koreans that have entered the American Indy Lights series over in America, but they were not very good. So really, I mean, Korea's not exactly what I would say like a country that has like a thriving motorsport scene, as to say, as per like, Japan, or maybe to some extent somewhere like China or even Thailand. So I don't know how that's going to work out. Hyundai is considering coming to F1. Wow. Wow, that's ambitious if that's true. I mean, I don't know whether Hyundai really have the resources and the expertise and the knowledge to really be able to like produce like a decent F1 engine if they ever wanted to do it. I'm just saying I'd be very surprised to see Hyundai ever come to F1. But good luck to them if they try. Like, I mean, I think we're all sick of seeing Mercedes, Ferrari, Honda, and Renault be the same names year after year, decade after decade, to be honest. I know Ford and Audi are coming in 2026, but the thing is, I mean, Audi are the only real, like, debutant going to be appearing in 2 years, in 18 months' time. Ford, of course, is a name we're all very familiar with, winning something like 180 races with their course with DFE engine between like 966 about, I don't know, was it 2003 Brazilian Grand Prix with Jane Carter, Fisichella, and Jordan? Like, I think they had like a 36-year winning streak in F1, roughly. Oh, the WEC. Sorry, I beg your pardon. I'm sorry, mate. Yeah, I think that's a more suitable series for Hyundai. I was gonna say Formula One, really? Hyundai in Formula One? That would be crazy. That would be absolutely crazy to watch, but I think that would be very hard for them to compete because we all know, like, the amount of money you need to invest to produce a competitive F1 engine, regardless of the regulations, and especially with the hybrid regulations. Even the new hybrid regulations is going to cost a fortune to, like, do without. Like, even with the MGUH, which is the motor generator unit for the heat thermal storage, is, well, I mean, even with that out of the engine, it's like you still have to develop the kinetic unit of the motor generator, which is still very expensive. So a certain Frenchman wants him in F1. I wonder who that is. I don't have a clue, mate. I don't know who you're talking about. Sorry. John Todd, Alan Prost. I can't think of who else. Like, who else is there? Is there Frederick? Not Frederick. Zero Beatable. Oh, man. Oh, looks like we're getting a bit of spice back in F1, Flavio Briatore back at the helm at Alpine, telling the Renault from engine department to sod off. And of course, Zero Beatable wanting to return to Formula One. Another spicy character wants to come back. Chazza is going to be absolutely delighted to see a Beatable back in the sport. He loves Zero Beatable, I tell you. Chazza HD absolutely loves Zero Beatable. You heard it here first at Crystal Racing. His all-time favourite team principal, I tell you. Bloody loves the bloke. Having said that, yeah, the championship is it's not over for Lando Norris, but when you have a 57-point deficit to Max Verstappen with 5 races to go and maybe a couple of sprint races in there, I have not looked at the calendar to check, but I think there's only about maybe 130 points available, maybe up to 146 points available if there's sprint races there, but Max Verstappen is not going to lose the championship. He's just too good to do anything stupid like that at this stage in his career. This is not the same Max Verstappen from even, like, I don't know, 2016, 17, 18. Like, he's so much better than what he used to be now. Like, Max has improved so much to the point he is just bulletproof. He's a robot at this point. Like, he could just drive a race at like 80% concentration and he will still get a good result. Like, it's all very, very, very natural to Max Verstappen. Like, he can drive with one eye shut and he'll still finish on the podium. Like, this guy it's not even challenging being an F1 anymore for Max Verstappen. Like, I get the vibe from Max Verstappen in that the reason why he keeps saying things like, I might disappear from F1 in like 2 or 3 years' time, is because I think he's looking for a greater challenge than racing in F1 at this point. I mean, I suppose maybe going to Mercedes, Ferrari, or Aston Martin would give him that challenge again, but or even go to McLaren, depending on what state they're in. But yeah, I do get the feeling, even with a worse Red Bull car this season, Max Verstappen has not been under through much stress, to be honest. I think most of the stress I think Max Verstappen has faced is the fact that, you know, the rumors around Christian Horner and the allegations of thrown at him, Adrian Newey leaving the team, what's his name? A couple of race engineering directors leaving, strategy directors. I keep forgetting his name. What's his name? Will Courtney, was he leaving? Jonathan Wheatley departing the team a few months ago. Like, I think those would probably be the worst thing. The only real bits of maybe stress for Max, but even then he's not been like, the car hasn't exactly dropped off enough for Max to really be like under pressure, to be honest, because Lando Norris is not an elite driver. He's just not that guy at all. I've given up on Lando. Like, I was willing to give Lando the benefit of doubt coming into this weekend, but I think this weekend has well and truly dissipated any hope I've had for Lando. Getting pole position and finishing fourth in the race after given a 5-second penalty is just so poor by Lando. Bottling the race start yet again, bottling P2 to Sainz in a sprint race. I am done with Lando. I'm fed up. I can't be arsed anymore. It's just not happening. Lando needs a miracle now. Huge miracle to even if he gets like 2 DNS from Max, like, even then I'm not sure he'll take advantage of it. And you know what? I think I'm going to say goodnight because I think I've talked long enough. Thank you for watching here at Crystal Racing. And I will see you again next time, next week at Mexico. Maybe qualifying, maybe practice. Next weekend, we go again at Crystal Racing.